Hello everyone, welcome back to another video from here in Eryri National Park on the 1st of October, where it definitely feels like autumn has just begun. And I'm exploring a brand new location today, and it's made me think about a topic that I think needs to be discussed a bit more here on YouTube. Let me explain. So as autumn approaches, we all want to get out with our cameras to the best locations we can possibly find to photograph the most beautiful subjects we can find, and that involves doing quite a lot of research. And some of that research is done by kind of watching other photographers, seeing other photographers' works, and wanting to go to the same areas that these photographers are visiting to, try and find these compositions for themselves. I'm a massive advocate of this. I think it's so important, and that ability to replicate and take inspiration from other photographers, I don't think is something to be ashamed of. I think it's a great way to learn, and it's a great way to hone your skills. Now, I don't know if this is just an issue in landscape photography or if this applies to other genres as well, but I've come across examples on more than one occasion of photographers who are unwilling to share the locations that they're photographing with other photographers. I feel like this is especially prevalent in landscape photography, and even more so prevalent in woodland photography above anything else. And since we're coming into autumn now and a lot of people want to do woodland photography, I feel like now is a good time to kind of throw my hat in the ring and open up this conversation. I would love to hear your opinions on sharing photography locations with other people down in the comments below. What do you think? Do you feel like it's something that we should be doing, or do you feel like people should be kind of finding locations for themselves? It's an interesting one. I don't know if there's a right answer, but I will share my view on this as we go into the video.
If you're enjoying the photos in this video, they were all edited with my brand new seasonal shift Lightroom preset. If you want to get that preset for free, all you need to do is sign up to my newsletter. Link in the description. Thanks for your support.
Now, people's motivations for not wanting to disclose the locations that they photograph are, completely their own, and I'm not making this video to try and persuade anybody otherwise. But it does get me speculating as to the justification for this, especially when it comes to woodland photography. I mean, let's use the example of maybe there's a photo that you've seen from Joe Cornish or Simon Baxter or Nigel Danson, for example. A tree, a scene, whatever it might be. Even if you were given that particular woodland, the name, the coordinates, whatever you want to call it, the chances of you finding that exact same composition are maybe slimmer because of the kind of chaotic nature of woodland photography. And whilst you'll still probably have a great shooting experience because you might find your own composition, which would be amazing, but is the argument more that these places such as woodlands should be kept a bit more untouched? And perhaps the untouched nature of woodlands is something that people want to preserve. And I think that is definitely a valid claim, but I think there is a bigger issue at play here, and that's possibly the perspective that we have of other people, which is slightly sad to say. But let me explain what I mean. I feel as photographers, especially landscape photographers, we have such a deep appreciation for the natural world. And I think if we are going to visit these types of landscapes, then we need to do it responsibly. And for me, that kind of feels like a no-brainer and something that doesn't even need to be said. But perhaps the reasons that people aren't divulging these locations is because they maybe believe that people don't have that attitude, and maybe if people visit these locations, then they're going to be disrespectful, and they're potentially going to cause damage, and these untouched landscapes are going to be transformed for the worse. And I think that's a really pessimistic view, and maybe I'm too much of an optimist, I don't know. But I like to think that photographers have the common sense and decency to preserve these beautiful locations. But there's also another motivation that people might have for not wanting to divulge locations, and I'll be interested to hear your views on this one. Now this is a nice place to put a bench, so we will sit here and talk about this next point, which, as I mentioned, I am extremely keen to hear your view on. And I guess it's all around plagiarism. Maybe that is the motivator for people not sharing locations of where they've taken some of their favourite photos, is because they don't want other people copying their work, whether that's copying the composition, whatever it may be. But I'd be interested to hear how you would feel if you saw somebody posting a photo that was reminiscent or derivative of a composition that you'd shared. I mean, for me personally, my 2 cents worth is I would probably take it as a compliment. It's always nice to see your work being recognised and the merit of that composition being valued enough by another photographer to want to share it and recreate it. And I guess maybe not everybody feels that way. But tell me how you would feel. Now, I'll tell you what, I'd love to tell you guys where I am today, because I have really not been to this location before, and I'm just kind of scouting it out, really, just to sort of see what it's going to be like for photos further on into the autumn when the colours start to turn, because there's a lot of interest around here. There's obviously the lake that you can see behind me, there's some lovely woodlands, there's some hillsides with some beautiful rowan trees and silver birch, and it's just an expansive area that's just above the village of Llanrwst. I will actually put some information up on screen, maybe put a map up so you can sort of see where we are, because it's pretty remote. But I guess this kind of brings on to my view on all of this, because I really don't mind sharing the locations of where I am, because I think, especially here on YouTube doing what I do, I think it's important to shine a spotlight on some of these places, because I'm so passionate about North Wales, about getting out into the landscape of North Wales, that I really want to share that with other people, because I want other people to experience these locations. So before we wrap up this video, I am going to take you to one final location, a bonus location in this video, which has definitely been overly shared over the years, but at this time of year it is just the absolute perfect time to grab this composition. So I've never actually taken this photo before. I'm really excited to check it out, and hopefully it will provide you some nice autumn inspiration to take you into the next few weeks.
Now, whilst we drive back to Llanrwst, I want to just mention this last point. Now, I think that sharing locations amongst other photographers and just making the locations of your photos known, I think provides a great learning experience for beginner photographers and the photography community as a whole. We need to remember that not all photographers have the benefit and the luxury of time. Some people are only doing photography as a hobby maybe once or twice a month, and for them, the enjoyment and the benefit of photography is just going to locations that they've seen online to recreate some photos that have inspired them. And I think that is a really wonderful thing. And that's why I feel like becoming a gatekeeper of these landscapes and keeping all of this information, these locations, very secretive, I don't feel like that serves the wider photography community. We also have to keep in mind that beginner photographers don't necessarily have the knowledge yet to be able to effectively scout and find these types of locations for themselves. Sometimes people need a bit of a helping hand, and they just need to be pointed in the right direction.
So a location that needs no introduction here in North Wales and is frequently visited is this house here in Llanrwst, which is at autumn covered in such beautiful foliage. We have the river, we have this really old bridge, and we have the foliage in the background. It just makes for a really lovely composition. I've never actually photographed it. So I just thought, whilst we're here talking about the subject, that I would stop by and get a shot. So there's a couple of variations that I'm exploring. One a little bit more tight in on the house in a sort of landscape 3x2 aspect ratio, which kind of has the house front and centre. But I think that's a mistake to just focus on the house, because you have the river, which over the last couple of days, because of all the rain we've had, is flowing really strongly, and I feel like including the river in the frame actually adds a lot more depth, and it adds a lot more layers to the composition. So I want to make sure to get some of that flowing water in the immediate foreground, using a circular polarizer to cut through the glare and to saturate the colours, and using a 6-stop ND filter to help with the exposure to get around a 1 second exposure for the water. I'm focusing on the house. I'm not focus stacking because the water doesn't necessarily need to be sharp in the vertical orientation image that I'm going to show. So I'll put both up on screen. Let me know which one you like. So I will leave it there for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed coming along on this little adventure in North Wales. I'd love to know what you think of this whole topic. As always, let me know what you think of the photos. Thanks so much for watching. If you're new around here, new videos come out every single week on a Wednesday. So hit the subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up, and join me next week for another video.